So it's a game that spreads in all directions, for better or worse. Neptunia Sisters vs Sisters is now available on Nintendo Switch, and in this video we check out how the game is experienced on the handheld console. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give a thumbs up. First, I want to discuss the things I liked. This is a relatively complex game, so there is a library that explains most of what you should know. You can get information about enemies and their location. There is a comprehensive tutorial that explains how the battles work, how to use your skills, and knowledge about the game in general. This library may prove necessary to gain more understanding, and is, in my opinion, a good addition to the game. I also appreciate that this is a relatively large game that focuses on exploration. There are tons of areas to explore, and primarily you look for items, take on quests, and fight enemies and bosses. And mixed with this, we have a broad set of characters who often interact with each other. We get to read some funny dialogues that are woven together with dramatic events. The game can be a bit confusing at times due to the complexity of the areas, but there is a map that is necessary to use in order for you to navigate through all the places. And the environments are varied. You run around in caves, in industrial complexes, in cities, in natural environments, and in places that give a futuristic impression. So I was never bored. Often there was a new area to explore with its own unique style. Something I don't like about the game is that it's quite monotonous. Although there are many things to do in this game, it becomes clear pretty quickly that you're doing the same thing most of the time, namely running around or fighting enemies. This is the bulk of the gameplay. Occasionally there are variations such as solving simpler puzzles, but they are not very developed. If the puzzles had been more complex, they would definitely have had a positive impact on the whole, but now the puzzles feel deprioritized. The battles give a mixed impression. You use 3 characters, but can only control one at a time. I found it fun to use each character's special powers to do a lot of damage, and trying to position myself strategically to avoid taking damage. But what felt clumsy was that the battles sometimes took on a life of their own. Since you only control one character at a time, and the other 2 are passively active, you don't always know what's going on around you. Sometimes the enemy dies without your knowledge, and there is always a risk that your heroes will take damage or die because you didn't control them at the time. But it can also be about your timing, that you quickly switch between the characters to get into good positions or to have the opportunity to activate their special attacks. But to sum up my impressions of the battles, it is that there is a lot going on at the same time, and it can be easy to lose control of what is going on, that things happen without your influence. But at the same time, there are moments that I still enjoy. It's fun to dish out massive damage and watch the enemy get annihilated. I would also like to add that the game offers some freedom to customize your characters. You can assemble a squad that uses both melee and ranged weapons. I saw myself using characters with swords, wands, and bazookas. It may seem like an odd combination, but this game takes a lot of liberties, so it's hard to determine the tone of the game. As I mentioned before, many dialogues are a bit funny and the characters give a cute and mostly innocent impression. But this game is, in my opinion, no fairy tale. We're talking about the fate of the entire world, where monsters have infiltrated basically every corner. And the collection of enemies is also all over the place. You fight against horses, robots, blobs, birds, and pixelated creatures. So it's a game that spreads in all directions, for better or worse. Okay, for those interested in a purchase of this game, I want to say that it flows relatively well. At least on the Switch, it feels like a solid port. The frame rate is okay, especially when running around and exploring in the three-dimensional world. However, I wonder why the game sometimes stops when fighting. When you attack or end a fight, it's like everything stops for a few seconds, as if the game needs to load. The loading times between the different parts are also relatively long in relation to how often the game needs to load. It can be about starting the game or switching between different areas. I discovered that you switch between different zones relatively often, so in this way the loading times becomes noticeable. But as a conclusion, I still want to say that overall everything flows well. Apart from the loading times and small problems in battles, this port feels okay. I haven't experienced any crashes either, which is positive. So the question remains, who is the target audience for this game? First of all, I want to say that this game may require understanding about the systems offered, and it's about everything from creating your own dream team to being strategic in battle, how to use items that boost your characters, and to use all the abilities in the best way possible. It can lead to experimentation, but it can also feel hopeless because there is so much to choose from. Sometimes less is more, but in this game it feels like the opposite. It is a game of opportunity. So, if you appreciate character development and customization and spending as much time in the menus as in the world, then this might suit you. And for those who own a Switch, I would like to point out again that this port generally works fine. It's also a big game. If you read all the dialogues, solve all the side quests and do the main quest of the game, then you have many days of playing ahead of you. Right now the game costs $50 in Nintendo's eShop, a rather high price tag in my opinion, but if you're a fan of the Neptunia games, this could be a good addition to your collection. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give a thumbs up. Have a good day. See ya!